We have that excellent echo in the background of clicking and typing to entice you to watch Dream Chaser. Okay. So far, so good, I hope. All right, so welcome back. We started a little bit late. Lucid, is it good?
It's still showing you offline.
Yeah.
Oh, the
Not
delay.
there yet.
Gotcha. Okay. So, God, is that weird? I wonder how long it is. Is it 30 seconds? Anyway, I won't bore people with my technical questions. So, we return for the finale of our hunting down monsters to build armor from their body parts. I'm going to kick up that our dream map here. We've already found rare materials for better equipment. We're working now. We've hunted down the Cycloctotaur. We've narrowed down our pursuit of where it is, but it's our turn to get the heart of it, right? And ultimately to become a folk hero so that we can finish telling our story. So as you can see, we have 2 players today. The third one, I believe, is probably sleeping. That would be my best guess, unless there was some kind of emergency, which if in that case, I hope things are okay, because shit happens. Kush, who's your character?
My character is Wendell. He is a poet, and he is looking for a new career.
I'd say he found one. I don't know if he likes it. Lucid.
I am Zebediah, and kind of an old guy looking for regaining my youth.
Okay. So last we met, we boarded a dropship. The 2 of you in Massator. Massator also had Kitiara, your niece, Zebediah, and there was it 8 guys? I think it was 8.
Yeah, I think so.
So,
initially, at least.
Okay. So it had, I believe you have 8 hunters left in your group, with Kitiara, with Massator. So bringing that number up to 10, 12 with you guys, this is your crew that you have to deal with the Cycloctotaur. The creature that you've described previously as having a head like a giant octopus. And what other features does it have?
Like the body of like a basic minotaur, more or less. The head is like an octopus, but he also has the tentacles coming down around his neck that he can control, and it's got the singular eye, like a cyclops.
So last we met, there was a lot of preparation. Once we had the team, we had the rare materials, it was about getting to the Cycloctotaur because there was a perimeter set up by this Eoris trading company. It sounds like the Cycloctotaur came out of the ground and started ravaging their buildings where they were making different compounds and camps to kind of further place themselves in the hells. There's something about them trying to gather this Mistral shade ore. Let me see if it was. We're going to call it Mistral Shade Ore until I correct myself later. But there is this sort of ethereal-like ore that's underground, only in the howls. And this is something that really hasn't come up yet, but it is something that, for example, Wendell's character knows about. Because obviously, you were part of the Eoris Trading Company. You know why they were here and what they were all about. Now, the Cycloctotaur has been on a rampage. Forcing the Eoris Trading Company to basically just be a perimeter of these sort of drop ships out in this craggy wasteland. The group of you hijacked one at great moral peril and is now piloting one heading in towards this like central drop zone is kind of what I was gathering for you guys last time of where you hope to maybe even dive bomb the Cycloctotaur. So that's enough of me talking. On the ship, so I like to think of this ship kind of like as one of those like helicopters with the kind of the rotors on the sides that has like the big drop like sort of a ramp in the back, you know, with mostly like a cargo area or like 2 rows of like benches for you guys, you and the team to strap in. It's a little bit more compartmentalized, like you had seen, Lucid, that
Right.
There was like that sort of mess area where you made a mess of a few guys. We've seen some security cameras and some cannons that it has. So it is armed with things. But first question is, who's piloting?
I think the plan was Wendell, because he's most familiar with the tech and everything.
Wendell, how about you take that over?
Oh my gosh, I'm not familiar with anything, but I'm sure gonna try.
You find yourself in front of the control panel. I imagine because we already got started, right? So this is kind of like moments ago, as you were trying to get us lifted off into the air. We are now up in the air, but let's see how well you did. Which one of your strategies would help you try to get this up in the air?
Memory serves. I think you did have the manual. I think we did get that from.
That's true. That's right.
Yeah.
Which one of your strategies would help you use the manual?
Which would help me use the manual. Well, clearly it's not going to be flattery. That does not work so well on inanimate objects. I'm going to use performance. I'm going to act like I'm actually confident and know what I'm doing. And with the aid of the manual, I think maybe I'll be able to pull something off.
Okay. I think imagine and performance.
Nothing can go wrong.
Now, what negative tags do you have? I believe you have one.
I have several. Well, I'm disillusioned and I'm broken.
Disillusioned and broken. Okay. And how'd you do?
Looks like I passed on both.
Okay. Until you were reading through this manual. You were trying to perform as the person that you are and show confidence that you were a broken man who just saw your leadership, your inspiration, kill a bunch of people. And while you thought this could be a fresh start for you, you were broken on the inside. This whole thing has been a disillusioned event for you. You kind of don't know how you ended at the forefront of a dropship leading a death squad to kill a giant ancient monster. Suddenly that opus that is buried within your sack is not so difficult to finish. Go ahead and reroll both of them and see if it succeeds.
All right.
Is that voice in the back of your head is just telling you you can't. You are not good enough. You are in over your head. One success.
It seems like I am. Yep, one success.
Okay. Staring out as the ship is, so far so good. It kind of nosedives a little too much as it kind of lifts up into the air. And everyone inside is kind of like, used to a rocky ship because they don't really fly. So they just assume that's what it feels like. But you, as you're lifting off, things are starting to go well. And you swear out of the reflection of like the front glass, right? The window, that you can see a reflection of your beloved. What was her name again?
Irene.
Irene. You see like the silhouette of her as if she was behind you, like in your reflection. And it makes you even more uneasy that this demoralizing feeling within you could even be like her watching this happen. What have you become? Do you have any tags that would help you, that would inspire you to move, to still pilot the ship?
Not anymore. Not with those negative tags blocking them out.
Okay. All right. Looking at your relationships, would anything there happen? Like, for example, Irene was a fresh start. Is there something that you could kind of twist that to help you? I'm the GM, though. I'm plenty happy with you being like, success with the catch. What could go wrong?
I feel like I could twist it into something, but it probably wouldn't fit the character at this point, so I'd rather not.
All right. So the ship is moving on, and you can't quite shake that it seems like there was a ghost in the windshield that just seems to be staring at you. You just feel like you're being watched, and that every moment as you're heading to what must be your impending doom as the voices get louder, that you may even be being watched in the worst case. Like at your worst moment, you're being watched by the person that you were trying to forget, right? To start anew. Meanwhile, right, Lucid, so you are with the gang, right? But it's worth mentioning, right? They're all talking about like the hunt. They're chanting that song that Wendell had them going on about that you just kind of caught the remnants of when you were talking to Zalaria. And they all seem motivated and kind of pumped up. And most of this is Massator, or maybe even more Kitiara. It looks like Massator, but you've been around the block. So you kind of realize that even Massator looks a little not himself, right? He should be fired up. This is the grand moment. And instead he looks a little like reluctantly here. But Kitiara is doing her best to kind of motivate the troops.
I'm going to interrupt for a sec. I think your Twitch stream volume might be a little low.
Oh, is it low? Okay.
Yeah, I'm not really able to make anything out.
Okay. Can you hear
Lucid,
me?
did you have that issue?
Oh, yeah, I got to talk, don't I? You're both like intently looking at me, and I'm like...
Like, I'm getting sound, but it's pretty quiet with the Twitch volume maxed out.
Okay.
It sounds good on mine, though, so I don't know.
Oh,
okay,
really?
Might just be me then. I'm just going to close out the window and...
Okay.
I don't know.
I just wanted to bring it up in case it wasn't just me.
No,
Sorry.
I appreciate that. Okay. Well, I'm going to keep going. We'll find out from the recording. Yay! All right. So, Lucid, you see them all kind of gathering, but you know that your time is ticking away. You only had so much time before this mortal body that you traded your heart for in a way fades, and you are forever old, not young and full of vitality, but old and dead and worn. Someone else's used skin.
Actually dead.
You do have this.
The deal was like after the 12 hours or whatever, I died.
Yeah. So I believe it was 6, maybe it was 12, but yeah, you're basically looking at like the better part of 2. But you know that it's not far now. I mean, you've gotten past all the hurdles. You just can't be lollygagging around. What are you doing with the hunters around, with yourself? This is your moment before the storm.
I figure I'm sitting there with Renjix next to me on the ship. He can fly, but why?
Of course.
Kind of watching them, getting a feel for how I think they might do, and I don't know. It's a little. They're very overzealous. It seems like. I mean, which can be good, but at the same time, I don't know how I feel about it. They're too focused on the glory than the actual kill, maybe.
Okay.
That's kind of what's running through my head, I think.
You're kind of taking it in. What strategies do you have again?
I have subterfuge, tracking, and beat it with the stick.
Okay. Subterfuge, tracking, and beat it with a stick. Okay, I want to imagine beat it with a stick. I want to gauge your internal fortitude, right? I'm trying to get an idea of how you're dealing with this situation, like on the inside, like because this is that moment of truth. This is the greatest hunt. This is the ultimate one. It might be the last one.
So beat it with the stick with what?
Imagine, please. Okay. I believe that is 2 successes. Okay.
Yes.
So with that, nothing to hold against you because you have no negative tags, right? I believe it was mass was the other one. So in your case, you feel strong. You feel empowered. You do have that cold chill about you, but it's something you've embraced, right? You've made a deal with the devil. With that, the ship keeps flying. Soon you'll hear something from the front, I imagine, as Wendell, in the big screen, you believe, even though you're kind of paranoidly looking around and seeing silhouettes and ghosts of the past, if you will, you find yourself staring at what looks like battered down devastation. And what I mean by is think of like metal constructions that have been torn apart and laid almost like neatly into like a path with like sort of a walkway and maybe like pillar-esque things that kind of lead toward this big hole in the ground. It's not very well lit, but there is some light from obviously like the sort of compound things where they had think of it like it was a work site, right? There's a couple lights that are still working that kind of draw some attention to it. You don't see any life as it were at the moment, but it's very dark and you're still very high, but that's got to be the spot. You've seen a lot of rubble otherwise, but that's like the epicenter. Everything else was just crushed.
Okay. I'm going to call out to everyone else in the dropship and let them know that I'm about to set her down in what I think is the lair of the Cycloctotaur.
Okay. Zeb, you find yourself in basically the cockpit, walking in, not far behind him. Anything you want to look at, say, or do?
Yeah, I was gonna walk in and kind of see as we come in for the area of the landing, get a lay of the land as best as I can, and you've done good so far, boy. Keep it up.
It looks like tracking for you would be the one, I think. Does it sound like a good fit for trying to get an idea of what's going on here?
I think that'd be the best one.
I'm going to say imagine, obviously, because you're used to being on the ground with, all your senses.
Right.
Not a couple thousand feet up in the air, looking through a window.
I don't usually get that high riding Renjix.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Actually, you might be a little better than I thought at this. Okay.
One.
Any tags that help that imagine?
I mean, former monster hunter, getting a better idea of whether the destruction is going or coming and things of that nature.
Okay. As a monster hunter, goings or coming.
I like if we're trying to find out where the beast is exactly, so look at the destruction patterns and can tell if that happened while he was heading that way or that sort of thing.
Perfect, because actually there's something you don't know, which also makes monster knowledge or hunting actually perfect. So
reason?
Imagine, reroll.
Oh, okay. That's right. Ooh.
No luck. But what's your belief right now?
It is 5.
Okay. I don't have the sheet in front of me. Switching up. Is 5 enough?
5, 2 free tags.
There you go. That's what I was looking for. Okay. Do you have another one?
The other one that would probably be best would probably be show these whippersnappers, just doubling down. I've already shown what I can do out there. I got to keep showing that I am worth them. You track me down the first place that I can do this. That age, even though I'm trying to get young, it's not going to stop me. These punks aren't going to get the better of me. That sort of thing.
Okay. So with that, go ahead and re-roll. And some of the other crew walks forward and looks in. Okay. So Kitty R finds herself next to you. As close as you can be being family, right? While the other hunters, kind of keep a good amount of, personal space. But there's a bit of a huddle of them and her, and they're around you, and they're looking out the window, and they're all kind of trying to make sense of it, which kind of, like you said, puts you in that mindset to, think this through of, I'm the old dog here. I know things that they don't. I have to be able to explain this better than they can. So Kitiara is looking at it. What do you think that is? It looks like there's a path out there. Is that some kind of a walkway? What kind of a beast would make a path to its lair? One of the guys looks at, kind of puts his arm around on Wendell's shoulder. Someone that probably is hungry and is baiting you out. He's obviously just using any chance he can to try to intimidate you, obviously, because you have some badass armor and he's got leather hide. So as you look at it and you hear these, idiots kind of talking about stuff, but really making no actual meaningful gathering in any meaningful information from it. As you stare longer, the thing that's interesting is actually it looks a lot like, maybe it's because you see the back of Wendell, and Wendell has been this guy who plays music, and he he hasn't really written anything around you, but there's something that you can only kind of relate to a bard, to a minstrel, to maybe a fairy guy, a wimp, that just puts into characterization that it looks almost like a garden walkway, like some landscaping or something, like something you would do to impress a girl. Now, of course, we're talking about a Cycloctotaur, so
right.
But it is interesting because it is a medley of destruction that has been laid out kind of like a beaver that makes a dam with just like crap, or a bird that makes a shitty nest with whatever it can find. Did something make like kind of a landscaped walkway with the shit it could find locally? Before you can really make anything further out of that, it looks like you're in position. Wendell, what do you say?
I see.
Are you landing? Is that the idea?
Yeah, I've told them that I'm going to look for a place to set her down, and I think that walkway right there looks brilliant. So I'm just going to start setting her down.
Okay. All right. The dropship begins coming down, and it feels kind of like fast and aggressive, which is nothing weird to the other hunters. Some of the other hunters, you can tell, kind of start like stomping their feet and getting a little fidgety. It's kind of like riding your horse fast when you're about to catch the beast. The unfortunate part here is everyone is getting excited at the like nature of speeding up and kind of getting to where they need to get to, except for the pilot, who is losing control of the ship as he's coming down far too fast and far too hard. With the ship moving at that speed, I need another piloting check. I need something for you to either catch it or do something, or we're going to have a crash landing. Zeb, you also being the older, wiser of the bunch, you get a little bit of hunch that things may not be as honky-dory. So
I just kind of call out while he's rolling. Brace yourselves. He's doing good, but just in case, to everybody else.
Okay. Kitiara takes heed, and she smacks one of the other men, starts shoving them towards, basically walls and, things that they can hold on to, at least brace themselves. They're all just standing around in the middle with their 2 feet on the ground. So people start moving into positions. Wendell, what do you do?
So is the ship just like speeding up, or is it like kind of shaking around as it's dropping faster and faster?
It's unfortunately actually speeding up.
Okay, so just like a very consistent, very consistent pickup of speed, just like it's dropping out of the sky.
Yeah.
How do you feel about me pleading with the ship to come on, just please be nice? And I'm going to start flattering the actual ship.
I love it, actually. I mean, we see that in Firefly and every other Han Solo-esque thing, right? Just
right.
One more time, baby. Just one more time.
Come on.
Don't fail me now.
We can do this.
It's obviously a stretch, right?
Oh, yeah. So that would be imagine and flattery.
Okay.
Which looks like 1 success.
Okay. But there's no doubt about it that how disillusioned hurts you here, right?
Right.
What did you say to plead with the ship?
I was saying, come on, baby. We can do this. You hate ICTC. I hate ICTC. We can break free. This is going to be amazing.
Actually, I was thinking of something else there, but you hear the onboard computer that recognized you with the rotor cannons earlier? That basically also hears you say this? Did you say hate? Please repeat. Hate ITCT?
Yes. Hey. I'm a little hesitant, but yes, I'm going to repeat that.
Okay. When you do, basically the light on the sort of camera that pops up to basically speak to you turns red, and you see a dot pointed at you as the ship is going faster and faster towards the ground.
Any chance I can? Do I see the dot too, or?
What would you like to do?
Who?
Lucid.
Do I see the dot?
Yeah, you sure do.
Do I turn? I'm assuming it's like a turret or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to beat it with a stick.
Okay, go for it.
Get out my cane and just try to smash it down. It's probably pretty reasonable.
Yeah, you don't even have to roll.
Okay.
Given you in the position that you are, kind of backing him up, no real threat, right? It's not going to fight back, or at least you hope not. That's a real problem if it does.
Right.
It's just defending itself. You're about to destroy the ship. So what happens? You throw out the whip-like, not cane. What was it like?
Well, it was a cane, but then it like extends into like a set of like barbed like prehensile whip. So I mean, it worked earlier, so I just throw it out again to wrap it around it and yank it off.
Sure. And you find yourself the new the new bearer of this camera, this high tech technology that's got wires that you. I'd love to tell you that they're sparking, but of course it's more advanced than that. Just these little blue and red wires that are sticking out of the back, and it almost looks like an eye, that's looking at you in the center of this, cube-like device. With that, the voices stop, or at least that voice did, and you find yourself heading head first towards the section that we were talking about. There's a couple of these pillars. As you're getting this close now, you're narrowing in 200 feet, 100 feet, 50 feet. The noise just gets really loud. Everyone has that moment where they kind of turn back and hunker down, and it slams into the ground. And there's so much noise and force that goes by in a split second, as it just thud, smash, boom, boom, roll. And the hunters and other people around you are starting to some of them brace themselves well, but others are going to be kind of thrown around as the ship kind of hits, lands, rolls once onto its front, and then just kind of slides on its front end. So the pilot, I imagine you were actually buckled in, given that you were a former employee who saw the safety videos.
Oh, yeah. It was like the first step in the manual. Obviously, I had to.
Zeb, on the other hand, I don't know of any thing that's going to save you other than a roll. What would help you have braced yourself? You knew it was coming.
Well, and I was going to say, if I had time, I probably would have tried to have gotten in the co-pilot seat. I'm assuming if there is one.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
And try to strap myself into that. And then having taken blows from big monsters before, knowing this is going to hurt, kind of tuck up into the seat with the buckles on and brace myself, And
okay.
But
I only want to roll because of the thing that you never use seatbelts, right? So you see him fasten and you're like, oh, like him, but it doesn't mean necessarily that you jump in time and know how to use this.
Right.
So
I'm just trying to figure out which strategy would be best.
Right. It's not beat him with this. I mean, unless you're gonna beat you with a stick.
No, yeah. And subterfuge and tracking. If you really want to stretch it, having watched him and tracking down traces I can see of the manual and the looking at it, the logic of it, and just tracking the proper way to connect it. Call it Imagine for a reason.
I was gonna say subterfuge, but I can't say no to that after the explanation you gave. So go for it. Okay, 2 successes. You slide into that seat. You strap it on like nobody's business. No one even notices, right? Because everyone's too busy trying to save their own hide, so you don't look like a wuss. And the ship flies, crashes, you kind of brace. I imagine you don't even close your eyes. You're a tough son of a gun, and you ride this out. And as everyone kind of comes to, you two are both suspended upside down. A little disoriented. You've made a lot of noise. You can smell what must be the smells of fire and destruction. There's probably a dust that's in the air, and there's a level of breeze that's coming in from parts of the ship that were banged up and broken into. For the most part, though, while I was telling you, you're coming down fast, it wasn't like you were coming down as fast as possible. It was just more like you were dropping out of the air kind of thing. So you find yourself upside down. Some of the men are obviously hurt. Most of them are too tough for their own good, so they're not really moaning and crying, but they're holding themselves in ways that are obviously showing that they're pained and damaged or hurt. Kitiara seems okay. Massator seems a little banged up like some of the others, but again, too tough for his own good. I give you a second, Zeb, that you could be the guy who makes the first word. Otherwise, Massator would say something.
Yeah. And so I just kind of unclip myself and go in the room and look at everybody. And you can walk. We're on the move. Pull it together. You've been through worse.
Kitiara comes up to the side of you, and she, makes eye contact with you and kind of whispers to you, or kind of mouths it, right? I'm sure he heard us, is basically what she lips to you. And she makes an eye contact towards Wendell and looks back at you and looks at Wendell, just to kind of like for you two to be like, that guy's not prepared for what's to come. Maybe you care, maybe you don't, but that's just what she's doing. So, Massator actually goes to Wendell. He tries to lift you out of your harness. I don't know if you already unbuckled yourself or.
I would be trying to.
Okay.
I don't know that I would be successful, but I would certainly be trying.
Okay. So he doesn't know how to unbuckle it as you're trying to fiddle with it. He just pulls out a knife and cuts one of the straps, and then cuts another strap right as you get it unhooked, and you find yourself like falling sideways towards your shoulder as you would land. But he catches you by like your knee and kind of holds you upside down like a little kid he's going to dump candy out of. And then he, basically drops you from like half a foot, instead of like, the 4 feet you would have fell. Do you feel like it's kind of brotherly as he kind of like nudges you with his dirty boot as he's kind of like waiting for you to make sure that you have your moment to shine in this great battle?
That went pretty well.
Wendell, you find yourself looking out of what looks like the hunters who are slamming the back panel, the hatch, and with enough hammering, they pry it open, and you hear that loud creak of two metal panels that are no longer fused properly as it begins to like wind open, and some of the the dark light of the howl starts kind of billowing in. There is smoke. It's light, but it's more hard to breathe smoke. As the ship is on fire in different parts, but not so much on the inside where you're at in the cockpit. But you do start seeing like the group. No one said anything. No one said anything about your driving. They just went on with their business. Wendell, you do see that drum that you had previously. It fell off of your side and it's on the ground by your feet. As Massator takes like maybe 10 feet, he walks a little bit ahead of you and turns back and looks at you like, what's,
Yeah.
You ready for this?
I'll pick it up and I'll say, I have to be.
He looks to you. So, that armor, right? It was made for you. This is your day to shine. You're going to feel alive today, I promise. And he reaches to his back and he pulls his sword that you've seen him carry. You've never seen him use. And he holds it out in front. And when he takes his second hand to it, it's like he peels it into two. And he has this amazing looking sword that kind of shines so brightly that it almost looks like it's glowing. But it's just a brilliant metal. And when he separates them, kind of like a ghostly form, it splits into two blades, which then both manifest into one in each hand. And he basically flips one around like some kind of weapon master and holds it in front of you.
I'm going to take it sort of reverently and look at it. I'm not holding it by its hilt or anything. Both my hands are on the blade. I'm going to look at it for a second, just like kind of in awe. I'll look back up at him and say, I don't know how to use this.
Do I hear that?
It depends. I imagine you're already further ahead, but of course you could hear that.
Okay.
Maybe you wanted to see what was taking Massator and Wendell so long.
You hold the end that's not sharp, and you stick the pointy end into the things you want to kill.
Yeah, Massator kind of like moves to like a bit of a skip, right? As he kind of hurries towards the front and kind of gives you a wink and says, when it's time, you'll either use it right or you'll die. And he rushes towards the back. That's how men are born!
Well, all right. I'm going to hold it by its hilt and like kind of use it as a staff as I'm walking around because I have no idea what I'm doing.
All right. You get outside, and as you get outside, you can hear kind of like the howls of what they famously call the howls, right? And in this area, because of the constructions that were built here, there's a bit of a howling as the wind kind of blows around and through the metal devastation. The men have all kind of ducked down so they can kind of be like, not hands and knees, but they're in a crouch, right? So they can kind of all kind of spread out and begin to track and kind of smell and use their senses in a way to try to hopefully hunt whatever the Cycloctotaur is for some kind of advantage. As before, when you had that moment with the Deegs, they all begin to disperse these cold iron, like sort of spears, javelins, and sort of like needle-like weapons. As Kitiara and Massator begin making sure they all have them ready, because the idea was that this cold iron hurts all things ancient. So, the Cycloctotaur being one of these sort of ancient ones, right? This should be a weapon that he's vulnerable to and may help you in the fight. Obviously, he didn't give you one, so you have this sword, so you don't know what that means, but... Okay. You guys get out, and there is a very strong musk smell in the air. Gosh. Wendell, what are your strategies?
Rhythm, performance, and flattery.
Rhythm, performance, and flattery. And Kush, is it you typing?
Yes.
Whatever you can do to kind of like make it so it's a little less loud.
Okay.
So, you said flattery. How about let's check flattery. Do you imagine flattery?
Okay.
Okay. Got one success. Do you have any tags that would help you notice a fragrance?
I've got a la mode. I'm very fashionable, and I can recognize
perfect.
The faintest perfume.
That's kind of what I was going for.
So reroll the failure.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. But you are disillusioned. And the first scent that you gather from this is the perfume that it was Irene, right? You smell the fresh perfume of what Irene used to wear. And it takes you away to like being out at a picnic, out in a field, just kind of on a hill, and with, the blanket and the basket and the food, just this beautiful day that you had with her, and you lose yourself in the moment. So re-roll and see if you keep into those successes. Yeah. Okay. So, but you catch yourself as you come right back to, and that's not Irene. That scent isn't even perfume. There's something very interesting about this musk, this scent. It's a musk and a scent that, I could be just totally talking bro science here, but it's something that, I don't ever really associate like a musk smell with like a woman, obviously we start dealing with pheromones and stuff, but there's something about the scent in the air that gave you that thought, and maybe even more so than just you being disillusioned. And of course, Zeb, as you walk out, there's a very strong scent. Now, it reminds you of things that Flugel told you. Flugel, or the stories we were talking about Flugel, where, Flugel was looking for his vitality. Flugel talked about wanting to hide for, like, mating rituals. And that is just, it cues in right away with you that you think that it could be something about, maybe there's a natural defense or something about mating. It is,
Right.
You don't know.
Yeah, right.
But the scent is strong, and from hunting that a lot of times if there is a mating season, that's not uncommon.
Right.
And you find yourself looking around as you kind of see this elaborate walkway. And now you can see that there are some of the bones, which you assume were of civilians of the Oris Trading Company, that are stacked out and kind of lined up as if they were like the sand to like walk across between the sort of devastation to the cave. Almost as if they were like the red carpet that was laid out. And
Right.
amongst them are a lot of those insects that you had that obviously are cleaning the bones.
Do the insects seem to be sticking to the path, basically? As far as I can tell, they just kind of everywhere.
Seem to be sticking to the path, which seems to be the only bones, which obviously were put there purposefully because they're
Right.
laid out in a fashion that, was obviously like man-made or Cycloctotaur made.
Well, and it looks like we have a clear path for which direction it probably is, so probably don't really need to roll tracking to
Yeah, no
follow
problem.
it if the path is there. So instead, I'll just kind of call out to the others like a hushed tone, but get them to this isn't normal. I don't know if this thing's sentient or not. It's so rare. There's myths, there's legends. Some say it's a beast, some say it's smart. I don't know. But this is clearly where it's going. If we all go down this path, we're probably going to die. Let's scatter and go in low and watch for those bugs. They already ate one of you guys. Let's not get any more of them you've eaten.
Okay. It sounds like you've used tracking for that, right? It's probably a reasonable use of it, of you kind of taking the lead, explaining that to them and saying this is what we need to do with your expertise. So why don't you give me a roll, and we'll use that to see how well they follow your directions. Okay. One success. Any tags?
Again, it could be either show these whippersnappers, or just to drive home the point of how dangerous it is, and just past knowledge of previous monsters and things like that, previous hunts, how the obvious path was the dangerous path. So either one would really work, I think.
Which one do you like better?
But probably the former monster hunter first.
Okay. And how did that help again?
To drive home the point, like explaining
Okay.
like past hunts I had where like it's clear this is the way we need to go.
Yeah.
But if you take the obvious path, it's probably a trap.
All right. Beat a 5. Excellent. Okay. And they know they need their A game for right now because this is the moment of truth. The worst thing that could happen to a monster hunter is obviously being ambushed by the monster, right? You are supposed to have all the skills and tools to ambush the monster. Given that, they start moving around. Wendell, what are you doing?
I'm going to scatter with everyone else. I'm going to probably stick relatively close to Massator, but avoid the path and stay as low as I can.
Okay. Okay. As you move out and you start moving close to Massator, it's very clear that from the cave entrance there are noises of movement that are large, that are coming out of that cave hole.
I have not been given any instruction to stay quiet, so I'm just going to yell, "It's coming out!"
And like clockwork, when you say that, it's as if you hear like the snapping of like 100 whips and like a elephant trunk sort of noise, like a horn that kind of goes off. And that movement that was below sounds like a stampede. And everyone knows that something is coming out that is very big and very fast. By fast, obviously, because it's large, right? The noise itself is very unsettling, mostly because, a lot of you don't fight with whips. And from, I would say Zeb in particular, you could only imagine that was the sound of the slapping of all of those tentacles that come out of that head. You being as stern as you are, I don't think you'd have a problem with that, but it'd be a very kind of rough sound for Wendell to deal with. Wendell, what strategy would help you not be very fearful of the sound of something just so loud and so powerful, right?
I would say probably rhythm. The rhythm of the slapping tentacles is actually a little bit soothing. The volume doesn't bother me that much.
I'm going to say imagine, right? Because I don't know that that's a thing, but cool.
It might be a thing.
Okay. Any tags that help you?
Nope, not even a little.
Okay. So you find that the sound is very unsettling. It's just so loud. That's really the part. I mean, like human beings are just, we're meant to be afraid of like heights and noise because they are alerts that something horribly wrong could happen for the human body. And that's what's happening here. And as the beast kind of rises out of this giant hole, and you see that there's just the size, the sheer size, and with those tentacles that are coming out of it like its chin and its face, they're spread out like a wild beast to make it look as big as possible. And they kind of look like this giant lion mane that are just all kind of twisting and writhing like a Medusa as this form that seems like moving like a snake, but that's only the first half. As the second half kind of come out, and it's moving on its arms, its hands and feet, like a lion, and at its height with that form, it seems bigger than the dropship. It seems like 4 men high, maybe even more. It's hard to make out. Like it would be bigger than most of these like trailers or compounds. And the horror is that it's probably on 4 legs right now, and you're pretty sure it could stand on 2. So anyway, the long description of that was just meant to say, you already weren't supposed to be here. Because since the moment you led those people in the wrong direction, you were broken. And the moment you saw them ripped to pieces, and you were told by the little AI computer camera drone thing that you were recognized as Eoris Trading Company, that you realized maybe you made a grave mistake. And this takes that home. So reroll your 3 and see if it sticks.
Okay. It certainly doesn't.
No successes. Do you have any tags now? Or you could buy your way out of it.
I will buy my way out of it.
Okay. What's your belief at before you spend?
It's at 4 right now.
Okay. So spending would take you to 2?
Yeah.
Okay. But you could buy a double success. What do you hope to achieve by getting the double here? Because I'm going to tell you, otherwise you were about to probably be paralyzed with fear and maybe start sucking your thumb and saying goo goo gaga.
I hope that, I'm certainly broken. I'm certainly disillusioned. And I'm terrified, but I feel like I've gotten kind of beyond the point where that fear, instead of paralyzing me, I'm just going to say, well, this is as bad as it gets. I've got to make my stand here.
Okay. As the beast kind of steps out, continues to move at a hurried pace, some of the construction around it kind of like shudders and rumbles, and some of it topples over and kind of moves, as obviously this beast has not rampaged through here since it laid it all out nicely. And as that's all happening, it kind of makes the air around you very there's a lot of wind and force in the air. But even given all that, you're able to kind of stick it through and realize that you have this armor, you have this sword, you are here. This was your choice. But the beast does seem like it is coming straight at you. And the thing that's the most strange about it is it does. And it gets right up to you, and right as it does, it stops like a giant elephant charging a beast, or a gorilla, as if it was trying to see if you would shift your ground. Azvab, what do you do?
See it running at him, saying it stop on a hunch, just singing a song, boy.
Oh my god, okay.
So
on the other side of you see Massator, who's like, don't be an idiot, use the sword. So you have like 2 competing people telling you. Now one you have 0 skill with. You're quite sure if you pull that sword out, it will attack you. The other is your wheelhouse. You could sing it a song. You know how to do that. You even have this little drum. But everything inside tells you that won't work. So it's kind of, you've got this damned if you do, damned if you don't. Speaking of that, what do you do?
Wendell has been trying to please 2 masters for too long. Both Zebediah and Massator. He's going to continue to do that. He's going to flail wildly with one hand while banging on the drum with the other hand, singing, "I'm not a pilot, I'm not a pilot," and just like going on and on.
Okay. Well, considering the circumstances, and obviously the Cycloctotaur is before you, we're going to go ahead and get the challenge started, right? Before we use that result, we might as well use it towards something. So, the Cycloctotaur is... Now, given... Just as I mentioned, the Cycloctotaur is a perfect use of, like, the dragon myth. because it's like the whole story. We knew at the end of this story there is this powerful beast, and we're going to have to deal with it. And it's probably going to be the hardest thing we ever do in our entire life, right? Given that we have the 2 players, we're missing the third, it's a little kind of much. So we're going to bring that back down to a challenge instead of but it's still going to be a pretty hard challenge. Mostly because the myth, I'm worried that I might get you. So I could be wrong, but I might get you.
If it goes that way, it goes that way.
Which I'm cool with the challenge getting you. But especially he's got a couple negative tags. It might be just a little much. So we're going to give it...
Winkle's gone totally off the rails. He's pretty much done.
Okay, so we got a mind, a body, and a spirit. Mind, body, and spirit. So outsmarting this creature is actually like a 7. So it's not incredible, but it's still very hard. You are where it wanted you to be. It is some sort of an ancient beast, but it still is a beast. The body of it, as you would imagine, is a 9. The spirit of it, maybe something you could do with song or some other kind of coercion if you could speak its language. I'm going to actually give that a 6. Mostly because you've already got some clues that actually lead you in a direction that you might have ways to make that work. Not that I know how yet. But, the problems that we have, right? Let's see if I want to use any of those still. And... okay. We're going to say the tags are that it is devastating, that it is horny, and
it's what?
That it is devastating and horny, and it is also... what do you think, Zeb? What should the Cycloctotaur be?
Desperate.
Desperate. Okay.
Which makes it even more unpredictable.
All right. And I was going to say Lucid. Kush. So Wendell is abiding by both masters. Do you want to do one then the other, or do you want to try to put them into 2?
I would
put them into
like
1.
to try to do them simultaneously.
Okay.
He's way out of his depth. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's performance.
That sounds about right to me.
I'm going to have to say imagine, because no one tries to do 2 things at once so poorly and so effectively. Like the only way you doing this right would mean you do it really bad on purpose, right?
Right.
So you actually want to fail at doing it right. So I'm going to say it's imagine.
Okay.
Okay. We got 1 success. As soon as you get a success, I look at these tags. You start playing some music. And when you were playing music, what were you using to do that?
I was using the drum that was on my armor.
The drum has a very interesting feature that I kind of mentioned last time, that it seems to channel emotion. And as it does, your emotion is desperate. So as you are playing the drum and beginning to pull the sword out, it can sense, it can smell the desperation on you. And it feels that in this sort of face-to-face, nonverbal communication, that it is owning you. So you can feel it begin to stand on its hind legs and tower over you as you are completely shadowed by it. And that musk smell gets ever so strong, almost as if it just bursts in your direction. Reroll your success. See if it sticks. Okay. We have 2 fails. What do you want to do? You still have the use of 1 tag, and you still have 1 double success in your pocket.
I feel like this is the time to use the double success.
Okay. Starting off strong. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, what were you targeting? Because it could have been the body with the sword, or it could have been the music that was kind of about coercing it or taming it or showing it you're the alpha. What were you going for? Mind, body, or spirit?
I was going for spirit.
Okay. With spirit, we know you're going to get 2 successes towards it. What happens?
in terms of what I'm trying to do to its spirit.
Yeah. What are you trying to do with the double success? What was your intention with the doing both and having an effect?
Well, in all honesty, that spirit effect was as much for my mentors as it was for the beast. So hopefully I have inspired them to do well. But for the beast itself, more than anything, a little bit of confusion or hopefully soothing it with the song itself.
Okay. All right. You begin making a sound that you can hear it almost make a sound back. It's kind of like a moan, but it's something that seems like I'm trying to think of it's kind of like a humming noise that it's making. It's like a pleasurable moan that you don't think everyone else can quite hear at this point. There's something about the drumming that is, in a way, desperate, but at the same point soothing. So you're stalling in a way. We have 2 points to the body, spirit, bringing that down to 4. Lucid, what are you up to?
I'm gonna apologize in advance for this one. But I had the idea, and it would really work well, I think, with the subterfuge type of thing, given the situation and the tags. So I see it upright. I see the state it's in, and I make a hand signal and a whistle for Renjix to kind of like fly over and kind of distract. And while he's distracting, knowing it may hurt a little bit, I scoop up some of the bugs from the path as I run towards the beast, and given his state, thrust my hand with the bugs inside a certain orifice that's erect, and let the bugs go on the inside and pull back.
Okay.
Having these flesh-eating bugs in its urethral tract.
Okay.
I'm gonna buy a double success.
Of course you were nice. Because you don't need any flesh-eating bugs or whatever remains of your arm afterwards to be a bad thing. What sexual diseases your arm may return with, I don't know.
Right. Yeah, so that's my plan. It seems the most logical course of action at the moment.
Okay. So with that, so you had how much belief? So it's a double success, right? Not a critical?
Right.
Okay. And that brings you down to what belief?
That would drop me to 3.
Okay, cool. All right, with the double success, this sounds like something that would hurt its body. Is that what you're going for?
I mean, it would hurt the body in like the obvious way, but I mean, given its whole drive right now is mating season, I think like not being able to function properly would maybe hurt mind or spirit too.
I like mind because, right, if you make it in something where it can no longer function right, you're going to mess with its head. Okay, so that's going to take 2 points to the mind, bringing that down to 5. First things first, a little bookkeeping. Kush, you were able to get rid of one of its tags. So it was devastating, it's horny, it's desperate. You can get rid of one of those, or of course you could add a tag to it if you think that the gang could use something that would be helpful here. But up to you.
I would have gotten rid of devastating.
Okay. Your music kind of stalled it for a moment and made it seem almost like a giant, goofy child in front of you. For a moment, right? And Lucid, when you... taking this moment of calm before the storm, you find yourself sticking your arms to these bones, pulling out a bunch of these insects. And that's your first rodeo dealing with these before. You don't have the right gear for it, but you know about how long it takes and what kind of excites them and what makes them, bite and not bite.
Right.
So with that, you're able to use most of that knowledge, and you can sneak up pretty close to it and just ram that arm. Like some kind of Superman punch straight up its orifice. Which, mind you, if this was a movie, we would get like a 360 pose of this, because you have to, right? What tag would you remove from the Cycloctotaur?
I'm going to add distracted.
Okay. Okay. Massator and the hunters, seeing their moment to strike, they all begin to throw or rush in with their cold iron. As you basically, both of you, you're removing yourself as the beast turns around and, of course, tries to step on Kick and move to swing on you, Zeb. It basically, as it's moving in your direction, of course you expected that sort of response. It yelped, it turned around, and it looked incredibly pissed as all of these tentacles, as if they were pointed in your direction, all want to spit fire and acid on you, but if they could, right? And you have all of its attention as it's just fuming. I imagine in your case, how do you kind of evade? What does it look like?
I mean, it's pretty big coming down at me, so I would imagine kind of darting or rolling between the legs to come out the other side. And as I do, I let out whether he hits me or not, I still let out the call of, well, he's got focused on me, do your thing, to like everybody else.
Yeah. And the hunters begin kind of running in. One of them runs and jumps off of one of these little devastated pieces and kind of leaps through the air with one of these spear-like cold iron pieces and jams it into the beast's arm. And the beast, starts making, sort of yelps, but not like whiny crying yelps, but more like these little fits of pain. But the devices are not as effective as you would imagine. While still piercing into the beast, they look ever so small when put into such a large creature. And you see the hunters as they're piercing them. If they were spear-like, they're being kind of like thrown as the beast kind of spins and turns. And you can basically see like the first round of them as another wave of these javelins come flying in. And all of this is kind of happening above you, Wendell. What do you do?
As the beast isn't looking at me anymore, how far away is it from me?
It was, just feet from you, but it turned and started to move. So it's probably about, maybe 30 feet in front of you.
Is it moving pretty quickly? Is it something I'd be able to catch up to?
Of course, yeah. Because you could have moved with it. If you didn't move, it'd probably be like running around like 30 feet in front of you. And obviously it's moving around very fast, so every step it takes is like 5 or 10 feet. So, it's easy to catch up to it, as long as it's not trying to run away from you.
Okay. As it's turning away from me, I'm going to resheath the sword and just go straight to the music and just try to soothe it as much as I can. Because clearly I have no idea how to use the sword. I was just waving it around like, hey, look at me, and it didn't do anything.
Okay. Massator comes up to your side, and he takes one of the cold iron pieces, and he sticks it in front of you. It's your moment. You have to know what this is like. Use it. Make the hunters proud. Be one with the hunters. And he does some kind of a yell call and runs in front of you with his own piece. And, you see him run, jump off the back of another hunter and stab his way into the Cycloctotaur and then swung away. As you can see him hanging still, but just like, it was like he was just there and now he's like gone as he's like being spun around on the arm of this creature. You also find that you have this cold iron spear or javelin. It's probably a javelin, but to you it's kind of a spear because, you really wouldn't know how to use either, honestly.
Right. Massator still has the tag Glorious, right?
He does.
So I think watching that brilliant maneuver, I think Wendell would actually be really inspired. Say, if I have to be a part of this life, maybe I could do something along those lines. And I'm going to follow in his footsteps and try to do the exact same move.
Lucid, obviously it's just you and me, so I'm going to stick my thumb up in the air and say I don't think he's broken anymore.
Okay.
You cool with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
It
I still think he's
sounds like,
disillusioned. I think that's really the problem.
He probably overcame that whole I can't function anymore aspect of broken if he's doing that.
At least for our story, right? Would he be broken longer for like the book series? Of course.
Right.
But like for the purposes of our story, yeah. So go ahead and get rid of broken, which will free up that tag that it was blocking.
Okay.
And we need a roll. What are you doing?
this is a performance. I am trying to follow in the footsteps of exactly what I've seen, just like you might do on a stage or reciting an epic poem or whatever.
Oh gosh. Well, it's Imagine. As much as I really wanted to make it Reason, because like you're just watching and then replicating. But it's like watching someone play basketball. It doesn't work out that well. I'm just doing what he did. I grab the ball. I stand where he did. I shoot.
All right. So
let's see a roll.
Performance Imagine.
1 success.
Yeah.
You have no belief though, right?
I'm down to 0.
Okay. So you have 1 success. Now this is a body move, right? Clearly?
Yes.
So you both take 1 point to your body.
Okay.
Okay. Brings that down to 8. Zeb, what are you doing?
All right. So, is he still coming at me, or is he focusing on Wendell or the other guys?
For the moment, he was coming at you. He's very upset with you, but all of the hunters kind of coordinating their attacks are forcing him. He's still kind of moving in your direction, but he can't focus on you because there's too many of them.
Right. Okay.
But given the situation, as you're basically assessing the moment, you see him. He has a bunch of the guys like around him. He has a lot of these like iron pieces that are stuck in him, but you see that his tentacles are grabbing onto these cold iron pieces. They seem unaffected by whatever allergy or burning sensation you assumed he would have with these, and many of the tentacles are now arming themselves. And
all right.
What would be to your horror is the next guy that jumps up in the air and tries to land on him with one of these finds himself impaled, and like a myriad, like 6 tentacles worth of these prods. So you're seeing that that's no longer a good strategy of the diving for leverage attack.
How far am I from Wendell?
I would assume actually that he's on the other side of the creature, but he did just run in charge. So you're probably, again, 20 feet.
All right. So I start like kind of running towards him, and I go, "Throw me the sword!" In my other hand, I make a motion. I don't know if he's going to throw it or not. I have a plan regardless. But it'd work better with the sword.
Wendell, would you throw the sword?
To him or Massator, either one.
Yeah. I don't know that the sword has any particular meaning. It glows pretty cool, but okay. I'll toss it.
Lucid. Now, It's a given. He's gonna throw like a girl, and I don't mean that in the sense of like like a girl. I just mean he's gonna throw like a wuss, right? Like he's gonna throw very poorly, is what I assume here. And since it's not his turn, I'm just gonna assume that happens, right?
Okay.
So. He just had his very strong moment, and now he's going to be like, okay. I'm assuming, though, you being the wise and experienced character, you probably compensate for that. So what are you trying to do?
Okay, so like as he throws, let's just say it hits the ground before I reach it, and I run by, scoop it up, and the other one, as Renjix flies by, and I grab onto him, and he flies me up over the Cycloctotaur, and I drop down directly over its head with a sword straight down to pierce into its skull. Okay. And I'm gonna buy a double success with this too.
Okay.
And that puts me to 1 belief.
Okay, and that's gonna be body, right?
Yeah, that would probably be body. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. That brings. So we are at 5 mind, 6 body, and 4 spirit. You obviously get to remove a tag or add one. We have horny, desperate, and distracted.
What was the body at again?
6.
I'm going to add uncoordinated. It just got brained.
Okay. So, what does it look like? Is it from like Wendell's perspective? Do you fly out of sight?
I mean, he might lose track of me as I circle around behind him, but then I'm still visible from the sky, but pretty well above as I just drop down with the sword in front of me.
Top of the head, or would you go for the eye if it looks up?
If it looks up, I'll go for the eye. But if it doesn't, the plan was to brain it. But I mean, if it has a softer spot show up, why not?
Sure. Well, I mean, there's nothing more cinematic than hitting that eye, even if it's not totally clean, right?
Right.
You come diving in, and your feet land in this sort of like gelatinous membrane, which is, coating the eye, right? Which kind of soothes your fall. But all of that thunderous effort, kind of gets pushed into the piercing blade that you have, which must be of this sort of mistral shade ore that they were talking of. And it digs deep, not quite into like the pupil of the eye, but like into the white of the eye. And there's a discoloration, and that eyelid begins to close. And it has an interesting eyelid that kind of closes from all four sides. But it can't close other than onto the blade itself, which kind of then cuts into the eyebrow
Right.
thing, the eyelid, and it causes it to kind of like really howl in pain as it looks up and kind of throws its tentacles out and its arms up. You really have it at a moment where it's like you rocked it, right? If it was a boxing fight. With that Wendell, you were at its base. Something just hit it up top and made it howl in pain. A howl that probably went through all of the howls. Zelaria probably was wondering what that noise was. All of the Oris Trading Company, that are probably moving in on Zeb's house right now with the boomstick, probably stopped and turned around for a second. But you are at the base. What do you do?
Well, I'm out of weapons. I no longer have a sword or a cold iron spear or javelin or anything like that. All I've got left is my armor and my drum.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start playing the drum, and I'm going to try to harmonize with the howl.
Okay.
Just like keep in rhythm with it, and just like. And,
what do you think the effect would be?
So what I want to do is, as he's howling, I want to kind of get this drum beat in his head, and then slowly start like slowing it down and trying to calm him down or like put him to sleep in that sense.
Okay. Give me a roll. It's going to be rhythm, and it's obviously, honestly, I think at this point it could be a reasonable use of it.
Okay.
You're not a direct threat target, right? You've seen this. You know what the thing that, you got enough pieces here.
Okay. So, ooh, that was unpleasant.
Okay. One success. You have no tags. What were you targeting? You think, is it spirit? Is it demoralizing?
I think that would be spirit. Okay. Yeah.
You both take 1 point to your spirit, bringing it down to 3. The Cycloctotaur so the howl, I see what you're saying. You're like kind of like penetrating it and amplifying this.
Right.
Obviously, the thing that kind of comes back is that the drum has an effect on all the people that hear it. So everyone kind of feels a bit of the pain that's going on here, which, of course, is in its own way demoralizing. Okay. Lucid. Being up top, you are now clearly the target of everything it has. As its number one goal in life right now is to rid the world of you. You find yourself with all of these tentacles coming up and surrounding you, and beginning to try to entrap you with their spears, like a tribe of primitives surrounding the first pioneer or something. You quickly see yourself surrounded. Now you do have Renjix, so Renjix is not standing there on top with you, but he's hovering close by. Obviously, them attacking are also going to probably, some of them would target him, but he's within reach and calling distance and help. So what would you do in response?
Well, seeing them all come at me, I would try to lure them in to attack, and at the last minute pull out with the sword, backflip off the head to go down and drop below, so it stabs itself in the head, and as I fall, take the sword and impale it on its chest and ride it down.
Okay, what strategy?
I think that'd probably be subterfuge, trying to trick it to attack, thinking it's going to get me.
Okay. Reasonable use of subterfuge. All right. One success. You have one belief, right?
Yes, 2.
That's 2 successes.
Oh, my bad. 2 successes. Okay. It is desperate. Don't think that would help it. It's horny. Not going to help it. It's distracted, also not helpful, and it's uncoordinated. So I guess this works. 2 more points to the body brings 6 to 4. To the surprise of probably everyone below, some of the hunters have now been swatted around, have been impaled, have been diced up and attacked, smashed. So some of them, and unfortunately their body parts and pieces are kind of laying around, which has put some of them into disarray. You know, your 8 strong has gone down to 4, but some of those who are getting up on their feet and trying to regroup see this display of all of those tentacles like a flower bulb kind of go towards its head and showing all of this underskin and hiding its fearsome head from everything else. And then they hear it sort of fall to a knee and howl as you reappear, kind of grab onto Renjax just to direct yourself, and then slide down with your sword. And all they see is what they thought of was the old experienced hunter well past his prime, displaying a level of competence that none of them ever seen. They've only heard stories about. Okay. With this, Wendell, you see Zebediah land right in front of you, practically. As he slides down, all of this blood just spatters all across your strange predator armor. You obviously are kind of taken back by this emotion of what you were playing, the howl. You find yourself really moved by this whole moment of what's going on. Kitiara looks to you and runs towards you. God, I think it's just trying to find a mate out here. Wouldn't that be a something that I'm trying not to curse. She says something that basically is like, wouldn't that be a show, right? And staring at you and just kind of panting, kind of waiting as Zeb just kind of lands, and the 3 of you are kind of like all right around each other, staring at the beast and kind of seeing the aftermath of what's going on with the people. You can kind of catch glimpses in the distance of some of what looks like maybe the Eoris Trading Company. They're kind of moving in, or at least some of the scouts that are watching more closely. Wendell, what do you do?
And before, as I land, I offer the sword if he wants it.
It's like a tag.
But it's totally, I don't like to say take it, it's just there if he wants it.
Yeah.
I'll sort of absently take it and resheath it with one hand. The other hand, like, as I'm hearing Kitiara saying that it's trying to find a mate, I'm fingering in my pocket there's a lock of Arene's hair.
Yeah.
And I feel like that loneliness or that looking for something or that longing is something that I totally get.
Yeah.
And I'm going to start playing a new song. So if you're okay with it, I'm gonna say that this unfinished opus that I have is actually about Arene, and I could never properly complete it because I don't feel like our time together was completed satisfactorily. But I'm going to start performing that with the aid of the drum, and I'm going to channel my own longing back at the Cycloctotaur.
Okay. So, yeah, perfect. That's really nice too, because I was kind of, the reason it charged you was actually the hair in the beginning. Right. So
as a player, I got that.
Yeah, it was one of those things that was funny. It was like I was like, yes, he gave you the sword, but it's like you caught my hand off there. Which was very subtle. It wasn't like I was like Kitiara coming over you and saying something doesn't necessarily sell it enough, but you totally ate that up, which is perfect. Yeah, run with it. So we need imagine in performance, right?
I think it would be performance. Okay. So it looks like 1 and 1.
Okay. 1 and 6. Okay. So with that, and this was spirit, right? You're beginning to kind of like influence it, pass on this like sort of, would you call it longing?
Yes.
Okay.
So like sort of reflecting it back at him, like reflecting mine at him, so it's sort of intensified, I guess.
Yeah. So you both take point of spirit, right? Bringing that down to 2. Massator takes that sword from Zeb. It says, "Enough with the song and dance! I said stab it!" And just grabs the sword and, stabs it into the leg of the creature. All of the tentacles now have moved down. It seems to be dropping down on all 4, which kind of forces all of you to move out of the way. Kitiara kind of grabs Wendell and starts kind of tackles you out of the way. Zeb, what do you do to get out of the way?
If they're all coming down,
it's more the creatures going on all 4s and trying to stomp on you guys, but it's pretty obvious as you guys are where you're standing that you can get out of the way in time.
Yeah, I figure probably just like dive and roll off to the side.
And Massator basically steps forward and is between the legs as he has the sword stuck in, and he's actually having a difficult time of pulling it out. He must have jammed it in some certain way, and you see him working hard, I was going to say frivolously, but working very hard to try to get it out, but it's jammed in a way. I believe that would be Lucid. What do you want to do? You heard Katie say something about mating. You remember Flugel's stories. Some thoughts crossed your mind of, could there really be a female Cycloctotaur?
Oh yeah, I've been thinking about that. This isn't the last one. But I really couldn't care less at this point as long as I get what I need here. So it is coming down to try to stomp on or smash a Massator now, right?
He's kind of caught between the back legs of what looks kind of, it'd be like a rhinoceros, right? This large, very powerful, 4-legged, like we said, it's really more like a bull, right? But, yeah, he's kind of hanging there a little too uncomfortably close to the junk area. But, yeah.
Well, speaking of the junk area, take out my whip and wrap it around and pull myself up and maybe Renjix flies by and I push off to help a little bit, depending on how low he is. I don't know. But grab on and just channel that cold energy to freeze it.
Okay. What strategies do you have?
That's probably beat it with the stick.
Yeah.
Would be the best fit.
Yeah.
Would that be reasonable or imaginative?
It'd be imaginative. I kind of like tracking for it because you have to hit the spot, right? Yeah. And you talked about kind of jumping off Renjax and using the whip and kind of it's moving, it's kind of stampeding.
Right.
And it's new powers, right? That you kind of have to. You want to get it all just right. Why don't you do imagine tracking?
All right.
Okay. 1 success. Any tags?
Roll. Can I use it's distracted?
You sure can. Hold on 1 second though. As I said that, I was like, wait, I'm supposed to check to see if it has tags I can use. Thank you. You gave me the chance. It's horny, so all of its fiddly bits are actually enlarged, and because of that, there isn't a lot of space to kind of wrap your whip around.
Well, it is barbed, so that might help.
Yeah, it could help. But go ahead and re-roll your success first and see if it sticks.
Okay.
Literally, let's see if the barbs stick. And they do. Okay, carry on.
All right, and so, nope.
That blade kind of goes through the little crease between the thigh, and you're not quite sure if it made it as you kick off Renjax, and it comes out the other side, wraps tightly, pulls. You get launched towards the largest piece of male gear you've ever seen.
Oh.
And from what it sounds like, you got some mighty cold hands. Do you think this is body, or do you think there's a lot of options here? This really could be you could be outsmarting it, right? You could be coercing it.
Well, I mean, given what its main drive is right now, if it's in pain and kind of semi-frozen.
And Spirit finishes the challenge if that's your goal.
Yeah, I was thinking Spirit might work because it's demoralized that it can't really function properly.
Okay. With that, not to mention this was your milestone of trying to get to the
Right.
heart of the Cycloctotaur, or to get the actual heart of the Cycloctotaur. Take us home on that. What happens?
Yeah, so doing that freezes it, and it doubles over, and kind of like just there's so much pain there, and then maybe Massator gets his sword out, then with new low-hanging fruit, he takes a different target. As I let go and drop down with the whip, and if Wendell, if he wants to have a finishing blow in or anything.
What does Wendell do, seeing this happen?
Mostly he's just in awe at just how fixated you seem to be on this thing's junk. I guess that's the part you need, but
It's really not.
So thank you for that. I mean, it's really more like he looks to you like you want some, and you're just kind of like staring like in horror and awe as you're just like, what is going on in slow motion?
But yeah, so if you don't, and then I'm gonna, as he's like kind of crashing to the ground in pain, I don't have the sword, but I do have the deek horn, like the spear that I
Yeah.
kept. I did take one of those, and so I'd like hurry up and run up to its chest as it's lying down the side, and like just impale it through and cut in deeper, and literally like go inside of it, like cutting away on the inside to get in there to what I need.
And you
Yeah, so I
see
go.
well, I mean, I would say bright, but I mean, it's probably very dark in there, right? But you find yourself digging, burrowing, until you see the giant beating drum within, which is, the four chambers of this giant beast's core, right? It's
Right.
beating heart.
Yeah, so I take that, and if the legends are true, what I need, I pierce that and cut into that to get to the jewel-like inner heart that
Yeah.
would be at its core. And I get there, I see that, and it's shaped roughly like a heart, but it's, like I said, jewel-like almost, and it's much smaller, kind of fits. It's a little bit bigger than a human heart,
Yeah.
but so I take that and kind of like just rip off my armor, and then where she had ripped out my heart and sealed it up, I unzip that basically and shove it into my chest
Oh.
to have its energy start coursing through me and revitalize me and start taking away the years and everything. And
So as cool as that is, why don't we give it the forward facing? When you step out, what do you look like? As you hear Kitiara being like, Zeb, are you okay? Zeb! As she's yelling like in the tunnel that you created.
yeah, I step out and I'm just all like, yes, I'm fine, and it's like she's seen pictures of me and everything
Yeah.
else. She knows, and the legends were true. Nothing else matters right now. They can blow up my house. I can build again. I've got time now.
Wendell, what are you doing?
I am just kind of looking on, like a little bit horrified. Me, like, you mean
I
me
came out
let
shirtless,
all
too.
of those people died just so you could get a few more years?
Well, that's why I wanted it. But
There had to be more to this. And I look over at Massator, like, tell me there was more to this.
Massator is like cutting out what looks to be like a horn or a tusk that was under the tentacles, and he seems like you're talking and you don't think he quite hears what you're saying, and he just gives you a big smile as he just like cuts and gores out this tusk and rips it out of the flesh of this creature, and looks ever so proud, as if it was like a trophy that he's kind of has under an arm. And you feel like it's one of those times where like you're saying bad stuff and he's looking at you and he's saying good stuff, but he thinks you're both having a good conversation, but you can't quite make out what each other are saying.
I'm just gonna shake my head and look at the sword and just gonna go give it back to him.
Okay. So with that, we've obviously, I should throw up our window here. We have gotten the heart of the Cycloctotaur. with that, we still have becoming a folk hero. I really thought we'd tie these two together, but given the time that we spent, do you guys want to do that for next week?
We can add another one, or I had an idea to kind of lead into that.
Yeah, because I really thought, honestly, walking in, I thought that this was going to seal the deal. But now I'm like, I don't know, maybe it needs a little more. So you take it away. See if we got this.
There might be merit to still continue it, but like it kind of would potentially lead into it.
Sure, go for it.
So I walk up to Wendell after he said that, and look,
you came to my house
you came to my house looking to take it from me, working for this corporation. You turned on them like that. You clearly weren't happy. You joined this. You're not a hunter, but you still tried. So you are looking for your place in the world, aren't you?
Of course. Isn't everyone?
Well, a lot of people have found it, but you're clearly still searching. So here's what we can do. And this would give you a bright start.
Kittyar starts kind of walking towards you. Renjix is kind of walking over this direction. You kind of see like the last of the hunters are kind of like huddling, kind of surrounding you with their trophies. Not like immediately so, but you know.
I kind of sidebar with him, and look, I've researched this thing a lot. The legends were true about the heart. If the other legends are true, if you go for the brain, there's going to be something in there. You take that, only the best of warriors can down this thing. You clearly killed this creature if you have this item. If you go to a place away from these soldiers, no one would be the wiser, and you can use this to build a reputation for yourself as this great hero that slayed this mighty beast rampaging through the world. It might not be true, you might not feel it, but it gives you a place to start to find your real purpose.
As I stare ever so closely at Kush.
And while Wendell disagrees with the sentiment, he sees the sense in that. And he is going to try to either take the brain or some other recognizable piece that no one else is claiming.
Can you imagine him walking out of here with this giant brain?
Well, and that's why I figured like something inside the brain, kind of like the heart had the sub
Sure, yeah.
Something that's like only rumored to be true, like a legend among legends type of thing. And I think that could like kind of lead into using that to jumpstart his folk hero career.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so what would you want that life to be like? Maybe really what it is, Kush, is like, so become a folk hero could be your epilogue, right? What is your life as a folk hero? Where does this go when you walk off into the sunset of the Howls with this token? And we could say it's something like in the heart of the brain, or maybe even the heart of the eye, right? Some kind of gem or crystal, or unless you like it being the gruesome organ or something.
So I think Wendell's going to go towards the brain, and he is going to cut in. And sure, there's a rough, like almost like a quartz inside the brain that they'll take, and it's got like a distinctive shape where it's like not flawed in any way, and that's known to be from the Cycloctotaur, I guess.
Yeah.
At least by the people who are in monster hunting circles and know about that. And as he leaves, he's going to close the single eye of the Cycloctotaur, and just like obviously feels bad about what's happened to this creature. It may have caused a lot of destruction, but it was obviously staying true to its own nature. And when he leaves, when he leaves, he's going to leave this planet. He's going to find a much quieter place to live, and he's going to go back. He's going to realize that a new career isn't necessarily going to make him happy. Continuing to search isn't going to make him happy. So he's going to go back to the stage life. Back reciting poetry, writing poetry. He's going to make himself this folk hero, make himself the star of these tales, obviously with a companion, and he's going to use this quartz as proof that these things that he says he does, all these songs that he sings are real. The songs are going to spread throughout whichever world he's on, but every night he's going to go home and he's going to take out that lock of hair and just stare at it, just like unable to sleep. Just he's moved on in his life. He's much more successful, but he's not found any sort of happiness.
Sure. I like too that you have that like predator armor, right? So I mean, like, you know, maybe you dress like a stagehand with it as part of the show, right? As the like to
Right.
show the great hero. But it once was something you wore, and you look back on it, and every time you see it, it does take you back to this moment that you don't necessarily feel great about, but it has become your livelihood, and it was very much a defining moment in your life.
Right.
What happens to Zebediah?
Well, I skin and harvest a lot of the creature for Flugel. Get him what he wanted finally.
I like to think that you guys are like high-fiving in your 50s as you both look 25 again, you know? Like...
Well, I was figuring this whole time like I was probably like in my 70s.
Sure, okay, so you both
Yeah,
are high-fiving your 70s, but both looking 22 again, so...
Right. And after that, I mean, I've lived the hunting life. They may have destroyed my home, but at this point, I've got the youth. I have time to rebuild, and I also have time to take them down.
Yeah.
And so that kind of becomes a new purpose: is hunting the Orpheus Core for revenge.
I always thought too that like, so when you return home, there's going to be like this giant like chariot, like horses that have pulled what looks like this giant drill in front of your house that was like gonna just totally demolish it. But like you're gonna come back all young, just walk in front of them and be like, All right. Wonderful game. We have hunt down monsters to create armor from their body parts, amongst other things, right? Maybe it's the armor of youth, the armor of, you know, a future.
Well, and Mastator would have probably crafted some major armor out of it.
Yeah.
Right.
So maybe right now he is staring in the, you know, your basement section that you had with the hidden cove of things. He's staring in the place where the Predator armor was of his new set that he's, you know, preparing. Gratitude, though. Think obviously Sat's not here, so we don't have a Mastator moment. But Kush, think of a moment, favorite moment that Lucid helped you have. Lucid, think of something for Kush.
I was not expecting you to shove some insects up there. That just came out of nowhere, and I had no idea what to do with it. I was speechless.
While y'all were talking, like the thought just like randomly popped into my head, and like if y'all saw my camera at that point, I think I instantly went like, like kind of doubled open by myself because, wow.
Yeah, that was fantastic. It was perfectly within character. It came out of nowhere. It was awesome.
I mean, you got a giant monster, you got a big soft spot, you got to go for it.
It really also amped up the part where Kush was like, no, Wendell's just standing there staring at all. Like, how come every time I see this old guy, he's attacking his junk from the front and the back? You know?
I mean, I really liked the epilogue. Like, it just such a strong character moment. Like, it's like he got what he wanted, but it's so sad.
Yeah. It's very poetic in a way, right? But like you said,
Right.
like, there's still a journey there, right?
Right.
You got rid of the broken tag for this session, but not for life.
Right.
So I was trying to play up the disillusioned tag.
Sure,
quite a bit.
yeah.
I still figured like he might not be broken. It might be like he can't. It's not like he can't go on or anything, but he's still totally disillusioned with that life that he ended up being a part of, even if it only briefly.
Yeah. Well, excellent, guys. With that, I'm gonna hit the closing screen, and until next time.
Bye.
Okay, so we're not streaming. Oh, I gotta hit stop.